right, we're back on the SportsMax zone. To football we go now. As COVID-19 cases continue to rise in Jamaica, the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, PFJL, says more players and officials in the Jamaica Premier League are being vaccinated in recent weeks. There are over 55,000 COVID-19 cases in Jamaica, and the PFJL says it's important to protect the players and the league. We're joined now by Arlene Martin, the General Manager of the PFJL. Welcome, Arlene.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Well, I'm starting with the fact that the players in the Jamaica Premier League were previously skeptical about the vaccine. Talk to me now about the turnaround and, of course, the good response that has been coming out of the camp.
Yes, I certainly will. As you are aware, through the Ministry of Sport, there was an effort to have as many players as possible. And not only players, but also persons affiliated with the players, members of the technical teams, facilitating having them vaccinated. The response, I would say, was good at the start. However, what I think is even better was that as people started getting the vaccinations, then more people actually wanted to be vaccinated as well. And I think that's a very good indication. Go ahead.
No, you continue.
Yeah, we don't yet have all clubs fully vaccinated. There are different factors. Interestingly, one of them is, and you may have noticed that we do have in the Premier League a number of young players, so still youth. So one of the factors that will definitely limit not having full vaccination is that not all players are able to be vaccinated right now because we're not going to be vaccinating youth. So that's one factor.
Definitely. And do you feel as if this has a massive part to play in the fact that, you know, the Premier League has been going off very smooth? Of course, no reported COVID-19 cases, and we're allowed to crack on with the competition as initially planned.
I think that is a huge factor. And the buy-in of the players, I think everyone wants the league to continue and they're willing to play their part. I think there's also the increased awareness of where we are right now in terms of COVID-19 cases in Jamaica, as well as the possibility. However, I think what is very important and what has happened is that there is a greater level of comfort with it. What I understand is that the teams, so the technical managers and so on, they have done, I think, a very good job of not just sensitizing, but really informing the players in order for them to make a decision. And I think you noticed that in terms of where initially we sent a preliminary list to the Ministry of Sport of persons to be vaccinated, and we thought that that was it. We kept having additions. So could you add these people? Could you add these people? And I think that was a positive indication that as information was shared, as people went back to say, oh, it's fine, etc., then the response continued. And even though we no longer have the window through the Ministry of Sport because that was a specific period, we still have interest for persons to be vaccinated. And now what will happen is that we will just go in the wider pool with everyone else in the nation to continue the drive.
Yeah, Arlene, as broadcasters of the Premier League here at SportsMax, we are, fully exposed to the kind of protocols that you have in place on match day. But, this issue doesn't just surround match day, so there has to be some level of sensitivity within the clubs of even their training protocols and so on. But it must be very satisfying for you as the organizer to see the COVID cases rising at such a rapid rate in Jamaica and the JPL up to this point being, untouched.
Yes, and we'd actually very much like to keep it that way. As I mentioned before, there isn't a club that has, there is at least one club that has close to full vaccination. And it's about 4 clubs that have less than half of the players fully vaccinated. So I would say that overall, we're definitely above half, which is a very good number. And we are privileged, I would say, to be able to play in football right now in this environment.
Yeah.
It took a few months.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. How often are the players tested?
Every week.
Every week.
So it is a requirement from the Ministry of Health that we have testing every week. We started with full testing of every player every day, so we definitely started, and we were very excited to have started with a very clean slate. And for the first 2 weeks, we did every player every week, and now we have a modified model of pool testing. So we have swabs done, and then there's random testing.
Arlene, is there any exception for fully vaccinated players, or do they still undergo this rigorous testing?
Vaccination does not mean that we're not doing testing. Even if players are vaccinated, so I mentioned a couple of clubs where a majority of persons are vaccinated, they still have to be tested because they can still carry the virus. And you certainly don't want them to continue to do so or to put anyone at risk. And so our testing requirements remain in place.
Yeah, we know that you don't want to drop your guard, Arlene, but I know a lot of fans are still a little bit peeved that they can't be at the games, watching the games, that the championship will continue for the next few months. Do you see any possibility of the rules being relaxed and maybe at some point fans could watch some of the games?
We were optimistic with the July 1 order of the Disaster Risk Management Act. However, with the current restrictions that were just announced this week, I think we have to, and with the reality of what is happening, I think we have to play our part in limiting the numbers. That has always been the position of the PSGL, is contributing to minimizing the spread. However, for us, we want to, like everyone else, safeguard lives, but protect livelihoods. We want the sport to continue, and if that means that we will not be able to have spectators, I think that's a compromise, and that's a balance that we have to work with. The good thing is, you just mentioned SportsMax as our broadcasters. We've been getting very, very positive reviews in terms of how well you are doing, so congratulations on that.
Thanks.
But the good thing is that so far we have been able to carry every match live. So our fans, not only in Jamaica, but in other locations, are able to see the matches. And so fortunately, we're able to have fans experience the Jamaica Premier League, even if they're not able to do it live. We will continue to play our part in terms of making sure that for the Jamaica Premier League, we do our testing. We follow the protocol, not just for match day and for training, but we continue to encourage players and individuals affiliated with the league to follow the lifestyle protocol that was suggested in our protocol document. And hopefully we'll see a reduction in numbers in Jamaica so that we can become optimistic about going back to what we had hoped in the July 1 order of spectators being able to experience it. For now, we will rely on the broadcast that you are providing.
Yeah. Finally, the Prime Minister announced some new curfew hours in the past 24 hours, Arlene, and things are getting a little tighter time-wise with the curfew. Some earlier hours announced, Mondays to Fridays, 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. On Saturdays and weekends when the games are being played, 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. And on Sundays, the curfew will start at 2 p.m. How does this impact the scheduling of the games?
As you can imagine, based on how we've responded before, the position of the Jamaica Football Federation is that they will remain in full compliance with the regulations. And to the extent possible, we will keep the matches in a window that will allow it to end with enough time based on the recommendation of based on the guidelines that exist so that players can get home. And so we expect that the GFF will issue new times that will allow for that continued compliance within the curfew window, bearing in mind that we have players coming from different parishes, different communities, and we do want them to be able to get home safely and within the curfew period as well. It's not a simple 30-minute drive away for all of the players. And so we have to keep that in mind as we schedule. And the GFF is mindful of that. And we want to continue to partner with the government and everyone for compliance with the measures. So we are working to stay within the curfew hours.
Well, Arlene, we're definitely in some tough times, but keep up the good work and we'll connect again.
We'll keep up the hard work. We'll keep up the good work. Thank you for working with us and for your cooperation and support as well.
Thanks again. Of course, Arlene Martin, they're the General Manager of the PFJL. We go to break. We'll be right back.